My name is Joe Rin. 3 days ago, I died choking on factory smoke in my old world and woke up in this body, a starving, beaten shell rotting in a slave caravan heading toward the Thornback Borderlands. My wrists are raw from iron shackles. My ribs press against skin so thin I can count them. The person whose body I inherited watched his father get dragged to the salt mines, his mother sold to a pleasure house in the capital, and his little sister vanish into a merchant's wagon heading God's nowhere. The Valdrin family, once minor nobles of the eastern province, reduced to chattel because one corrupt magistrate wanted our land. This world has magic. It has kingdoms that war over dragon bones. It has beasts in the wild, places that can swallow caravans whole. And I am nothing, less than nothing. A borderland slave marked for death in a lawless frontier where even the kingdom's soldiers refuse to patrol. Then, on the third night, something... This story is powered by Butterfly Stories on Patreon, where we continue the stories you love. Want more? Link in the description. Ignited behind my eyes. Words burned across my vision like divine fire. Beast taming system activated. First synchronization in 5 days. I don't know what god or demon put this power inside me. But I know one thing with absolute certainty. I will find my family. I will make every person who touched them suffer. And I will build something in these borderlands that this rotting kingdom has never seen. But first, I have to survive the next 4 hours. The memory of my death in that other world comes in flashes. Marcus, my business partner of 7 years, pouring me a celebratory drink. The strange metallic aftertaste I ignored because we just closed the biggest deal of our lives. His face when I started convulsing, not shocked, not afraid. Satisfied. The insurance payout is bigger than your share would have been, he said. While I choked on my own blood. Nothing personal. I died staring at ceiling tiles. I woke up choking on mud. The caravan had dumped us like cargo, 20 slaves thrown from wagon beds into the borderland dirt. A woman beside me was already dead, her eyes open to the gray sky. A boy no older than 12 scrambled away on hands and knees, sobbing. The guards didn't even dismount. Congratulations, frontier settlers, one of them called out, reading from scroll with mock ceremony. By order of the Kelrath Crown, you are hereby granted the honor of reclaiming the Thornback Borderlands for civilization. May your service be remembered. They rode away laughing. I tried to stand. My legs buckled. This body had been starving for weeks. I could feel it in the trembling muscles, the way my vision swam when I moved too fast. The slave brands on my forearms throbbed, infected and weeping. Memories that weren't mine flooded in. A manor house burning, soldiers with the purple sash of the judiciary dragging his father away, his mother screaming, a fat man with rings on every finger, signing documents. While the Valdrin family was parceled out like livestock. Magistrate Vorin. The name seared itself into my mind alongside Marcus's face. 2 men who destroyed everything for profit. One I could never touch again. The other lived in this world. Move it, fertilizer. A guard's boot caught me in the ribs. I tasted copper. The frontier needs bodies to mark where the beasts hunt. I crawled. There was nothing else I could do. My arms shook with the effort of dragging myself toward the tree-line, while the other slaves scattered in panic. Some ran for the distant hills. Some simply sat down to die. The 12-year-old boy made it 30 feet before something large and fast erupted from the tall grass and dragged him screaming into the brush. I didn't stop crawling. The interface in my vision pulsed. That impossible blue light that had first appeared 3 nights ago. Beast taming system initializing. Host condition, critical. Synchronization accelerating. My fingers found water. A stream, barely a trickle, running through a gully hidden by thorn bushes. I collapsed face first into it and drank until my stomach cramped. First synchronization in 4 hours, the system displayed. Survive. For hours. I had to stay alive for 4 hours. In a wilderness that had just eaten a child in front of me, with a body that could barely stand, surrounded by beasts that the kingdom itself had abandoned hope of controlling. I wedged myself under a fallen log, covered my body with dead leaves, and waited. The sun moved. Screams echoed from different directions, fewer each hour. Something massive walked past my hiding spot, its footsteps shaking the ground. But it didn't stop. I counted my heartbeats. I thought about Voron's fat fingers signing away my family. I thought about Marcus raising that poison glass. I thought about the sister I'd inherited memories of, 8 years old, dark hair like her brother's, crying. As the merchant wagon carried her away. Her name was Sarah. 3 hours in, the system's light intensified. Critical host condition detected. Accelerating synchronization to prevent host death. The world fractured. I felt my awareness expand outward like ripples in water, touching the minds of every creature within range. Most felt like static, dim, instinctual, untamable. But one burned bright. First synchronization complete. Target identified. Thornmaw, juvenile. F-tier distance. 312 meters northwest condition. Severely wounded. Infected spine wound bond compatibility. 67% taming requirement. Remove infected spine. Defend during fever recovery. The location blazed in my mind like a beacon. An F-tier creature, the lowest rank. Wounded. Vulnerable. My ticket to survival if I could reach it. If I could somehow tame a beast that could kill me with a single bite. Then the system pulsed again. A second notification, red instead of blue. Warning. Hostile humans detected. Step riders, 5. Distance, 400 meters south trajectory. Intercept course with host estimated arrival. 8 minutes, I looked at my shaking hands. At the slave brands that marked me. As prey. At the thorn bushes that were the only thing between me and 5 raiders who would kill me for sport. The Thornmaw was ahead. The riders were behind. I started crawling toward the beast. I ran toward the predator. At the thorn bushes that were the only thing between me and 5 raiders who would kill me for sport. The Thornmaw was ahead. The riders were behind. I started crawling toward the beast. I ran toward the predator. Every survival instinct screamed at me to flee south, to put distance between myself and the step riders. But the system's knowledge burned in my skull. The Thornmaw was wounded, fevered, desperate. The riders were healthy, armed, and hunting for sport. I chose the wounded predator over the healthy ones. The thorn bushes tore my slave rags. As I scrambled through the underbrush. Behind me, I heard a rider's horn, 2 short blasts. They'd spotted my trail. 8 minutes had become 6. I found a rocky hollow exactly where the system promised. A tumble of boulders formed a natural den, and inside, something massive breathed in wet, labored gasps. The stench at me first, rotting flesh and fever sweat. Then I saw the Thornmaw. 6 feet of obsidian scales and serrated teeth. Its amber eyes tracked me with feral intelligence. But it couldn't rise. One of the spines along its back had snapped, and the wound had gone septic. Pus leaked down its flank in yellow rivulets. Taming conditions active. Remove infected spine, defend. During vulnerability, prove worthy of trust, the creature hissed when I stepped closer. Its jaws parted, revealing teeth that could shear through my arm like paper. But it didn't lunge. Couldn't. The fever had stolen its strength. "I'm not here to hurt you," I said. The words felt absurd. I was a half-starved slave talking to a beast that would eat me if it could. But something in those amber eyes shifted. Watching. Waiting. I grabbed a shard of obsidian from the hollow's floor. The edge was sharp enough to cut. I'd performed surgeries with worse in my old life, though never on a patient that could bite my head off. The broken spine jutted from the creature's back at a wrong angle, surrounded by swollen tissue. I pressed my palm against the scales beside it. The Thornmaw's entire body tensed. A growl rumbled through the hollow. "This is going to hurt," I told it. "But you'll die if I don't." I cut. The beast screamed, a sound like tearing metal. Its tail whipped around and slammed into my ribs, throwing me against the boulder wall. Pain exploded through my chest. I tasted blood, but I kept my grip on the obsidian shard and scrambled back to the wound before the creature could recover. The infected spine came free with a wet, sucking sound. Pus and blackened blood poured out, and the Thornmaw's whole body shuddered with relief and agony. I pressed my forearm against the wound, applying pressure. while the creature's jaws snapped inches from my face. "Easy," I gasped. "Easy. It's out. The poison's draining." The amber eyes met mine. For a heartbeat, I saw something that wasn't animal recognition. Understanding. Then the beast's head dropped to the stone floor, exhausted. Hooves. The sound of hooves on rock. I spun toward the hollow's entrance. 3 figures emerged from the thorn bushes, step riders in leather armor, their faces painted with ash and blood. The leader carried a curved sword. The other 2 held spears. "Look what we found." The leader's grin revealed teeth filed to points. A runaway slave playing healer to a dying beast. They spread out to block any escape. I had nothing but an obsidian shard slick with beast blood. The leader pointed his sword at the thornmaw. "That's a valuable hide. We'll skin it. After we're done with you." Something cold settled in my chest. Not fear, rage. I died once already. I've been thrown into this body, seen my family's name destroyed, felt the slave brands burn into my flesh. I would not die crawling. I stepped between the riders and the fevered beast. "Through me," I said. The leader laughed. "Have it your way." He charged. His sword came down in a killing arc. I didn't try to block. The obsidian would shatter. Instead, I threw myself inside his reach where the blade couldn't cut. My body slammed into his chest, and we went down together in a tangle of limbs. His knife. He wore a knife on his belt. My hand found the hilt. As we rolled, he grabbed my throat with one hand, squeezing. My vision spotted black. I drove the knife upward. The blade punched through the soft flesh under his jaw. His eyes went wide. Blood sprayed across my face, hot and copper-tasting. His grip on my throat went slack. I shoved his body off me and rose with the bloody knife in hand. The other 2 raiders stared. One of them recovered first, thrusting his spear at my chest. I twisted aside, but the point scored a line of fire across my ribs. Blood soaked my slave rags. Behind me, I heard something move. The thornmaw lunged. It shouldn't have been able to stand, let alone attack. But the beast threw itself at the raider who'd stabbed me, jaws closing around his thigh. The man's scream cut short. As Scar, the name surfaced in my mind like instinct, tore out his hamstring and dropped him thrashing to the ground. The 3rd raider ran. He didn't look back. I stood there, chest heaving, covered in blood that was mostly not mine. The dying raider gurgled at my feet. Scar released its grip on his leg and collapsed again, sides heaving with exhaustion. Something chimed in my mind. Not a sound, a presence. Bond established Thornmaw, juvenile. Designation, Scar Tamer rank. 1 neck synchronization. 5 days then, I felt it, a wave of emotion that wasn't mine. Exhaustion, pain, and beneath it, something tentative and warm. Gratitude. Yeah, I whispered, dropping to my knees beside the beast. My hand found its scales, and this time, Scar didn't flinch. "We're alive." The hollow swam around me. Blood loss. Shalt. My body finally registering what I'd just done. Killed a man, bonded a beast, survived against impossible odds. I collapsed beside Scar, both of us bleeding, both of us breathing. Alive. I woke to an arrowhead 3 inches from my left eye. "Don't move." The voice was female, flat, and completely serious. "Your lizard twitches. I put this through your skull before it reaches me." Scar's warning hiss vibrated through our bond. I felt his muscles coiling, his instinct to strike. I pushed a wave of calm through the connection. Wait. The woman standing over me was wiry, sun-darkened, with a missing left ear and eyes that had seen too much death to hesitate. She kept the bowstring at full draw like it cost her nothing. 2 step riders. She nudged the closest corpse with her boot. "Dead. And you're what? 100 pounds soaking wet. Slave brands on both arms. Half-starved." Her eyes flicked to Scar. "So either that thing did all the work, or you're more dangerous than you look." "Both," I said. She didn't smile. "How'd you bond it?" "I've tracked thornmaws for 3 years. They don't let humans close enough to breathe on them." I removed an infected spine from its back, defended it through the fever. Something shifted in her expression. Not trust, recognition. She knew what that meant. She'd survived out here long enough to understand that some bonds were forged in blood and desperation. Mira Thornfeld. She lowered the bow by an inch. And before you ask, yes, escaped slave. 5 years running. No, I don't work with anyone. Her jaw tightened. But those raiders had supplies I need, and you're in no shape to stop me taking them. I sat up slowly. My side screamed where the raider's blade had caught me. Scar pressed against my leg, amber eyes fixed on Mira. Take the supplies, I said. I want something else. What? Information. Unclaimed territory. Somewhere I can build. She laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. Build? In the Borderlands? She shook her head. You really are fresh meat. There's no unclaimed territory. Everything worth having belongs to someone stronger than you. Then show me what's not worth having. Yet, Mira studied me for a long moment. I watched her calculate the risk of keeping a beast-bonded stranger alive, the potential value of someone who could do what I'd done. There's a ravine system 2 days northwest, she finally said. Defensible. Water source. Razor Fong territory. But manageable. She paused. I'll take you there. In exchange for half the raider supplies and first pick of anything your gift helps us find. Gift? You bonded a thorn maw in one night. Either you're blessed by the border god himself, or you've got something special. Her eyes narrowed. I don't care which. I care about surviving. I extended my hand. She gripped it once, hard, then released. We leave at dusk. Rest. While you can. The second synchronization hit me. While Mira was sorting through the raiders' packs. It came without warning, a pulse of knowledge flooding my mind like cold water. I gasped, and Scar lifted his head, feeling my shock through our bond. Synchronization complete. Tameable creatures detected. 3 F-tier. Razor Fang, juvenile. Location, 2.3 miles northwest. Den beneath collapsed oak bond conditions. Food offering, territorial submission display compatibility. 78% D-tier. Ironback boar location. For 0.1 miles north. Wallowing pit near stream bond conditions. Combat dominance required. Defeat in direct confrontation compatibility. 34% S-tier. Apex predator. Classified. Status. Dying special notation. Carries fragment of the border gods. Essence location. The Blackmire. 8 miles east bond requirements. Tamer rank 3 minimum current host rank. 1 warning. Attempting bond below required rank will result in immediate death. My breath caught. The border god. The ancient deity who died defending humanity from the steppe hordes. A fragment of that power. Lying 8 miles away, waiting for someone strong enough to claim it. And I was 2 ranks too weak to try. You look like someone just told you where to find buried gold. Myra's voice cut through my thoughts. She was watching me with predator-sharp attention. What happened? I weighed my options. Lie and lose a potential ally. Tell the full truth and risk becoming a target. Partial truth. Then, I have a gift, I said carefully. It shows me where creatures are, what they want, how to bond them. Convenient. Her tone said she didn't believe me. Prove it. You've been tracking a Razor Fong den. Juvenile, probably. You lost the trail 3 weeks ago near the northern ridge. Mira went still. It's 2.3 miles northwest of here, beneath a collapsed oak tree. You'll find it if you look for disturbed earth near the roots. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she started laughing, not the bitter laugh from before, but something genuine. You're either the best liar I've ever met, or you're exactly what this Hell's Cape needs. She shouldered her pack. All right, beast boy. New deal. I help you establish a hold. Your gift helps me accumulate enough to buy passage out of the Borderlands. Her missing ear faced me. A raider's trophy, a reminder of what survival cost here. Do we have a partnership? We do. We traveled through the dying afternoon, Scar padding silently beside us. Mira moved through the terrain like water, each step deliberate, her eyes constantly scanning for threats. There, she stopped on a ridge, pointing toward a column of smoke rising in the distance. Goreth, the branded. He controls the hold nearest the Blackmire. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. The Blackmire, where the dying Apex waited. Escaped slaves who reach his territory have 2 choices, Mira continued. Serve or die. He's got 30 men, a pack of dogs he's beaten into obedience, and enough cruelty to make step riders look gentle. She glanced at me. Why do you care about the Blackmire? Something valuable there. Something worth dying for. The fragment of a dead god's power. The foundation of an empire. Yes. Mira followed my gaze toward the smoke. Then back to me, a half-starved slave boy with one juvenile beast and borrowed weapons. Then you're going to need a lot more than that lizard, she said quietly. Because Gorith doesn't share. The watchtower had lost its roof decades ago. But the walls still stood, 10 feet of mortared stone choked with thornvine. Mira disappeared into the tree-line to check the perimeter, while I climbed the remaining stairs to survey our position. Scar waited below, his amber eyes tracking a rustling in the underbrush. The system pulse hit me like a cold hand pressing against my skull. 5 days exactly since the last synchronization. Information flooded in. The Razorfang female I'd noted before, now only 2 miles northeast, her location pinned sharp and clear. Bond compatibility, 73%. Taming condition, acceptance through shared kill. I dropped back down the crumbling stairs. Scar, hunt. The Thormaw's spine ridges flattened with anticipation. We moved northeast through the dead forest, my body still weak, but learning to keep pace with the predator I'd bonded. The Razorfang's territory announced itself through claw marks on bark, through the scattered bones of small prey. She found us first, smaller than her dead brother, the one who'd nearly killed me, but faster, with intelligent golden eyes that assessed threat before committing to attack. I held up the rabbit Scar had caught an hour earlier. Fresh blood still dripped from its torn throat. The female Razorfang's nostrils flared. She circled once, twice, her hackles raised. I tossed the kill between us and waited. She approached in the way all predators approach uncertain food, body low, eyes never leaving mine. When her teeth sank into the rabbit, I felt the system respond. The bond pathway opened like a door in my mind. Fong, I named her, feeling her wary acceptance settle into place beside Scar's steady presence. Tamer rank. 2, the notification burned bright behind my eyes. 2 beasts. 2 bonds. 1 step closer to the power I needed. Gorith's scouts found us before sunset the next day. 6 men emerged from the tree-line with the casual confidence of wolves approaching a wounded deer. Their leader, a thick-necked brute with a notched axe, planted himself at the base of the watchtower. You're on branded territory. His eyes swept over Myra's bow, over Scar coiled at my feet. Tributes due. Half your food, all your weapons, and the woman serves the hold for a month. Myra's arrow was knocked before he finished speaking. I want to meet Gorith, I said. The scout laughed. Dead men don't get meetings. Tell him I know what a fine beast's worth more than this entire territory. I kept my voice flat, controlled. Tell him I can give him power no raider could match. That should be worth a conversation. The scout's laughter died. Greed flickered in his eyes, the universal language of desperate men. Wait here, he said finally. Touch anything in these woods, and we'll skin your lizard alive. Gorith's hold squatted 3 miles south like a rotting tooth. Wooden palisades surrounded mud brick buildings, and the smell hit me before we crossed the threshold. Unwashed bodies, dog shit, and something worse. Fear. Slaves worked the dirt yard with hollow eyes. I recognized the look. I'd worn it myself not long ago. A pack of dogs lunged against their chains. As we passed, scarred animals with flattened ears and flinching bodies. Trained through pain. Broken until nothing remained. But obedience. Gorith waited in what passed for a great hall. A timber building with a throne of lashed antlers. The ritual scars across his bald head caught the torchlight. As he leaned forward, the slave boy with pet lizards. His voice rumbled like grinding stone. You promised me power. Speak. There's a D-tier ironback boar denning 4 miles west of the Blackmire edge. I met his eyes without flinching. Mature male. Its hide can turn steel, and its tusks will gore through shield walls. Worth more than everything in this hold combined. Gorith's scarred face split into a grin. And you'll tell me where just like that? In exchange for territorial recognition. The watchtower and everything within 2 miles. My land. My rules. He laughed. A deep, ugly sound. Fine. Tell me where, slave boy. I'll even let you keep your ruin. I told him. 3 days later, Gorath's hunting party limped back through the palisade gates. 2 men were missing. 3 more couldn't walk without support, their leather armor shredded, their faces pale from blood loss. No ironback followed them. Gorath's scowl could have curdled milk. The beast won't break. We beat it half to death, and it's still charged. Because you try to break it. I stepped forward. Real quick, if you've been enjoying this story so far, Butterfly Stories on Patreon is where the full continuations, exclusive episodes, and future parts are released first. You can even start with a free trial. Link in the description. Now let's get back to the story. Ignoring the hands that dropped to sword hilts, I offered to show you a different way. Your way. Contempt dripped from every syllable. Feeding scraps and hoping it plays nice. My way is bonding. Yours is breaking. I held his gaze. Which one put 3 of your men in the dirt? Silence stretched between us. Gorath's fingers drummed against his antler throne. Show me, he said finally. And if you fail, I'll feed you to the dogs. The ironback boar was dying. Gorath's men had done their work well. Deep gashes crossed its armored hide, and 1 tusk had cracked near the base. The beast stood in a clearing of trampled earth, its sides heaving, eyes rolling with pain and fury. Behind me, Gorath's remaining men formed a semicircle. 20 armed fighters, waiting to see me fail. The ironback saw me approach. Its hooves churned the ground. A charge built in its haunches. 500 pounds of wounded rage preparing to kill. I didn't run. The system's information scrolled through my mind. Taming condition. Combat dominance established through unflinching confrontation. The beast needed to recognize a predator, not prey. The charge came. Earth trembled. The ironback's remaining tusk gleamed in the dying light. I stood my ground and let my eyes go dead. Not the fear of a slave. Not the cruelty of a breaker. The cold patience of something that killed to survive. The boar's hooves skidded 3 feet from my chest. It snorted confused. Charge again. I didn't move. The 3rd time, it stopped 5 feet away and simply stared. Something shifted in its pain-maddened eyes. Recognition. The bond snapped into place like a key turning in a lock. I turned to face Gorath. His expression had transformed, contempt replaced by calculation, and beneath that, the first flicker of fear. Serve me. Gorath's offer came that night, in the smoky confines of his hall. Be my beast tamer. I'll make you second in command. Land, food, authority, everything you could want. And if I refuse, 30 men will burn your watchtower. While you sleep. He smiled without warmth. Choose wisely, slave boy. 5 days until my next synchronization. 5 days to find leverage against a petty king with an army. But the system had other plans. A pulse of cold pressure against my skull. Urgent, insistent, wrong. Information flooded in, and my blood turned to ice. The S-tier Apex's condition had deteriorated. The divine fragment embedded in its dying flesh was destabilizing, its power leaking into the earth like water through cracked stone. 12 days. The fragment would be lost forever in 12 days, and I was nowhere near strong enough to claim it. I knelt before Gorath's throne of salvaged wood and rusted iron. I accept your generous offer, Hold Lord. His smile revealed teeth filed to points. A step custom he'd never abandoned. Wise choice, beast tamer. You'll find me a fair master. Master. The word burned worse than the slave brands on my forearms. But I kept my head bowed, my expression grateful, my hatred locked behind my ribs where it belonged. That night, Mira found me in the kennels where Gorath housed his broken dogs. Scar lay coiled at my feet, amber eyes tracking every movement in the darkness. The Thormaw had grown in the weeks since our bonding. Nearly 7 feet now, scales gleaming like oiled obsidian. You're actually doing this, Mira said. Not a question. Watch as men. Find the ones who follow from fear, not loyalty. I scratched behind Scar's jaw ridge, feeling the rumble of contentment through our bond. 3 names. That's all I need. And then, Then Gorith learns what happens when you call a Valdran slave boy. The synchronization hit 3 days later, cold pressure flooding my skull, information burning behind my eyes. I braced against a wooden post, teeth clenched, as the system revealed its secrets. C-tier creature detected. Shadow Stalker. Location: Blackmire outskirts, 4.7 miles northeast. Taming condition: protect nest until hatching. Bond compatibility: 67%. Warning: proximity to S-tier apex. Step rider activity detected in region. My pulse hammered. A Shadow Stalker. Apex ambush predators of the Blackmire. Creatures that could melt into darkness itself. Bond that, and I'd reach rank 3. Rank 3 meant I could attempt the dying, God-touched apex. 12 days had become 9. The divine fragment was still bleeding power into the swamp. I gathered my beasts at dawn. Scar. Fong the Shadow Wolf. The Ironback, a C-tier armored boar I'd bonded 6 days prior. Its hide thick enough to stop crossbow bolts. 3 creatures. 3 weapons. Not enough for what was coming. But I was out of time. Mira. I pressed a small carved bone into her palm, a token Fawn would recognize. When I send the wolf back with this, move. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. She tucked the bone into her belt. The 3 I identified, Bryn, Kolya, and the twins. They'll come. The rest chose their master. I met her eyes. Make them regret it. The Blackmire swallowed us whole. Black water. Twisted trees. Air thick enough to chew. The Ironback led, its bulk crushing a path through the undergrowth, while Scar slithered ahead, tasting the air for threats. I found a Shadow Stalker's nest in a hollow beneath a collapsed stone temple. Ancient, pre-kingdom, carved with symbols that made my eyes water when I stared too long. The creature herself was magnificent. 8 feet of lean muscle and smoke-colored fur, eyes like twin moons in the darkness. She crouched over a clutch of 6 eggs, lips peeled back, ready to die, defending her children. The system pulsed. Taming condition: protect nest until hatching. Estimated time: 6 hours. Easy, mother. I kept my voice low, my movements slow. I'm not here to take. I'm here to guard. She didn't attack, didn't retreat, just watched with those lunar eyes. As I settled against the temple wall, my beast fanning out around the hollow in a defensive perimeter. 6 hours. I could manage 6 hours. The step riders hit at hour 4. Fawn's warning howl split the swamp. 3 sharp barks that meant enemies, many, coming fast. I was on my feet instantly, stolen raider blade in hand, moving toward the perimeter. They came through the mist like ghosts. 7 riders on shaggy step ponies, curved blades gleaming, faces painted with ash and blood. They'd been tracking something, probably the Apex's divine bleed, and stumbled onto my position instead. Their leader saw me and grinned. Kel Rath's slave. Alone in the swamp. The spirits smile on us today. Not alone. I whistled once. Scar erupted from the black water behind them. The Thormaw took the rearmost rider before anyone could scream. Jaws closing around the man's torso, venomous bite flooding his system with paralytic toxins. The Ironback charged from the flank, tusks goring a pony's belly, sending rider and mount crashing into the muck. I killed my first step rider with a blade through his throat, while he was still turning toward Scar's attack. The second died trying to ride me down. I ducked under his swing and opened his leg from knee to hip. He fell screaming. I silenced him with a boot and a downward thrust. Blood, mud, the shriek of dying men and the roar of my beasts. The leader came for me directly. He was good, better than me probably, but didn't know about Fawn. The Shadow Wolf hit him from behind, while he pressed his advantage. Jaws closed on his sword arm. Bone snapped. I drove my blade through his chest, while he was still processing the pain. Silence. 7 bodies. 0 casualties on my side. Behind me, in the temple hollow, the Shadow Stalker's eggs began to crack. I watched them hatch. 6 squirming shapes emerging wet and blind into the world, mewling for their mother's warmth. The Shadow Stalker gathered them close, then looked at me. Those moon-pale eyes held something I hadn't seen in any beast before. Gratitude. The bond snapped into place like a key turning in a lock. Sudden. Complete. Her name flooded my mind, Vale. Tamer rank increased. Rank 3 achieved. S-tier bond attempt now available. I felt it immediately, the expanded beast sense flooding my perception. And through it, 3 miles deeper in the swamp, a heartbeat like thunder failing. The apex. Dying. Waiting. I pulled the bone token from my belt and pressed it into Fong's jaws. Go. Fust. The wolf vanished into the mist. Gorth woke to chaos. Half his followers were gone, slipped away in the night with Mira and her promises of a new lord. The beast tamer's quarters stood empty, and from the Blackmire's edge, 4 bonded predators howled their master's dominance into the dawn. I stood at the threshold of a den carved into living stone. The apex predator lay coiled within, a creature twice Scar's size, reptilian and ancient, its obsidian scales cracked and leaking golden light. The divine fragment pulsed within its chest, visible through wounds that wouldn't heal. Amber eyes fixed on me, not with hunger, not with rage. Recognition. The system pulsed against my skull. Bond attempt available. Success probability, 23%. Failure consequence, death. Behind me, boots splashing through swamp water. Myra's voice, 7 followed. Gortha's mobilizing his loyalists. They'll be here within the hour. 7 followers. For beasts. 1 dying god. I stepped into the den's shadow. The apex's voice filled my mind. Not words, but meaning, ancient and vast and terribly sad. It showed me what it had been. Guardian of the Borderlands, keeper of the dead gods' final spark, protector of humanity's edge for 300 years. And it showed me what was coming. The step riders I'd killed weren't scouts. They were the vanguard. A horde was massing beyond the dead steps. 50,000 strong. They would breach the Borderlands within the season, and nothing, not Gortha's hold, not the scattered frontier settlements, not the Kelrath Kingdom's distant armies, would stop them. The apex's heartbeat stuttered. Its eyes held mine. Choose, the system demanded. Bond or flee. 23% success. Death or dominion. I knelt before the dying, god-touched beast and placed my palm against its cracked scales. The divine fragment erupted with light, and the percentage counter began to climb. 24%, 31%, 47%. The apex wasn't testing my strength. It was testing my worthiness to inherit a war. Want to see what happens next? Continue this story on Butterfly Stories over on Patreon. Start your free trial to unlock the next episodes. Link in the description.